Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jade and in this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you my experience studying a bachelor's degree in Finland. As per usual, my videos are really long, so if you're interested in just jumping into a very specific part of this video, I invite you to go check the description below. I will have all of the timestamps so that you can just jump into the part that interests you. And if you are not in a hurry and you just wanna hang out with me, then I invite you to just keep on watching. If this is not the this is not the first video that you are watching from me, you know that I have had a really long story in Finland. I have been living 10, almost 11 years here, going from being an exchange student when I was 16 years old to studying my high school bachelor's, master's, getting a summer job, having a 9-month contract, getting a permanent contract. I've had tons of experiences in this past decade, and this video is going to be all dedicated to talking about my experience studying a bachelor's in Finland. So without further ado, I'm just going to get started. And for me, it's really important to really give you a little bit of a background story of why did I decide to apply to the university where I studied, why did I chose that program, and yes, so let's get started with that. Because the thing is that all the past 11 years of my life, I've always lived in Kuopio. Kuopio is a very beautiful city located in the middle part of Finland, 4 hours to the capital city by train, around 4 hours also to reach Lapland in the north. It's not too big, it's not too small. I have really loved it. So when I was finishing at the time my high school, I was finishing the international baccalaureate, and I was transitioning into deciding what kind of bachelor's did I wanted to study. I had to really face this big decision of whether I would wanted to continue my studies in Finland or whether I would wanted to go back to Mexico and make my bachelor in Mexico. But bachelors in Mexico usually take 4 to 5 years. Almost all of them take 5 years. And in Finland, that's faster. So I had already repeated my high school in Finland. So I did 6 years of high school. If you're interested in hearing my story of why did I repeat high school in Finland, I invite you to watch this video that I'm just gonna link above. But yeah, I have basically repeated my high school in Finland. And so I wanted to catch up. I didn't want it to take longer with my studies. And for me, if studying a bachelor degree in 3.5 years would help me do that, then that was something that I was willing to do. So the reasons that I decided to stay in Finland and not go back to Mexico was, number one, that education was free in Finland. Number two, that the whole degree could be completed in 3.5 years, which was way faster than in Mexico. 4, that all of my family was really encouraging me to stay here. And I was very young, and even though I wanted to go back to Mexico, I was really scared to be making the wrong decision. And number 4, Kuopio was a city that I love. Kuopio already felt like my home. And it actually just happened to be that there was a university offering a program that I actually, it seemed interesting and it seemed like something that I would really enjoy. How did I chose to study the international business program was because there were some students from Savonia. I also studied my high school here in Kuopio in the high school called Liceo. So in Finnish, it's Kuopion Lyceon Lukio. And at the time when we were thinking about okay, what bachelor's, what's the next step after high school, there were a bunch of students, not a bunch of students, maybe 2 or 3 student tutors or I don't know, students from the program that went actually to present the international business program to our high school in Kuopio. And when they presented the program, I was I just really enjoyed their vibe. I really enjoyed how they expressed themselves about the program. And I just thought yes, absolutely, this would be a program where I would really like to study. And if I am to stay in Finland, then I would want to stay in Kuopio and I would want to study in a program that it seems to have a vibe that I would enjoy. Besides business knowledge, it's something that I could apply to basically any field. And even if I would decide to study another bachelor's later in my life, it's something that it could have supported that path. Because my original dream profession was to study to become a nutritionist. So I thought, well, if eventually at some point in my life I end up studying nutrition, then all of my business knowledge would ultimately support my career as a nutritionist, because business, it's a competence that you can literally like apply to all of the fields that exist in this world, in my personal opinion. You know, because that's what we do. We do business. We work in a company for someone when we are an adult, or we become entrepreneurs. And what we do, it's business, just like the trading. So business knowledge, yes. And that's how I decided to stay in Kuopio. I was actually so precise in the things that I wanted, because in Finland, there is this application system that always opens in January. So I think that there might be some universities that have different application dates, but like the biggest that I know, the biggest application period, it's in January, always. So it's called a joint application. And what it means is that with this one application, you can apply to many, many programs, to a lot of universities within Finland. And I really, at the time, was really not interested in applying, you know, I was not interested in moving to another city because I didn't want to deal with the hassle of it. And also, there was a part of me that really wanted to go back to Mexico. So I wanted to, you know, I was scared of what if I am choosing wrong, because I didn't want to go back to Mexico because of many reasons. But one of the reasons was that my dad told me that if I go back to Mexico, he wouldn't pay for me a private education, which I was younger and, I was scared to not study in a private university. Now that I am an adult, I understand that really had nothing to do. I am the kind of person that believes that my education, it's not tied to the university and it's not tied to the professors that I have. I am the responsible human being for knowing what is it that I will learn, like how good am I going to become in certain things. And a university and the teachers are not going to be, limiting factors to how far I can go. Does it mean that studying in a great university and having amazing teachers help you? Yeah. But what I mean with this point, it's like, if I have horrible teachers and I happen to study in a horrible university, which was definitely not my case, would that be limiting factors to decide like how big I can go? I don't think that it's true. I don't think that exists. That doesn't exist in my world. And that was something that I actually learned in Finland. So anyway, so the point is that because one part of me still wanted to go back to Mexico, I decided that I was going to be very intentional. I was happy with the international business degree. I was really looking forward to have my education in Finland, but I also didn't want to move to any other city. So when it came to filling up my application, I decided that I am only going to apply to Savonia. I am only going to apply to the international business program. And if I do not get in this very specific program, then I'm not staying in Finland. So I was extremely intentional. Now, can you apply to more programs, to more universities within Finland with this same application? Of course you can. Actually, if you happen to be watching this video before January 19, 2022, the application period is still ongoing. In 2022, the application period to the English bachelor programs, it's open from the 5th until the 19th of January. So if you want to check it out, just go to studyinfo.fi. That's where you can find all of the information about the programs and the different type of education that you can get in English in Finland, in all of the universities of applied sciences. But I just wanted to study in Savonia. I just wanted to study in Kuopio. And I just wanted to study and get accepted into this one program, which was the Bachelor of Business Administration International Business Program, and that's where I got. So the entrance exams actually changed in Finland quite a lot. If you ask me how was my entrance exam at the time in 2015, it actually had, we had to read an annual report from Finnair. So usually they change the annual report from the companies. And they ask us, questions about the report. Then we had something that was reading comprehension and business kind of things. Then we had another part that actually evaluated our maths skills. And there was another written part that I don't even remember what was that about. And then after that, on the same day, we also had a group interview. which basically put us in different like business situations and asks us, how would you deal with X, Y, or Z thing? It was everything. I feel like the entrance exam at that time was not like necessarily super easy, but it was really not necessarily super hard. It was good. It was just perfect. There was 2 questions from the maths exam that I feel they were extremely easy, and I was like, really? But then again, that just happened to be what it was. And at the end of the day, what I have noticed is that I think that kind of like admission process remained like the same for like 1 or 2 years, and then it started changing. So that's something that really surprises a lot of people. I myself work at Savonia in the marketing department. So I talk a lot with people that are interested in studying in Finland. And a lot of the questions that they ask me, it's like, hey, but how can I prepare with exam? Can you give me some sample exams? Like, how is that? And that's like the weirdest thing for me to explain, because the thing is that in Finland, the entrance examinations change almost like every year. And usually universities don't give like previous exams. So basically, when I get that question, and also when I was myself applying, there's really nothing that they can like give you from previous years. And even if they would give you things from the previous years, that does not mean that the exam will be the same for the next year. So that's really weird, but that's how it is. Don't ask me why. I don't make the rules. So that was the way that I made my entrance exam. Now the entrance exam, it's like entirely different. Now they have something called the International UAS exam. And that's like a unique exam that allows you to actually get admission into like a lot of different programs for all of the universities. How will it be in January 2023? No clue. As I said, I don't have a decision power in that, and that might just like entirely change again or not change at all. You never know. So yeah, my first impressions about like, okay, I presented the entrance exam. I was super excited about it. I got admission into that, and I just thought that it was destiny. You see, like I told that one part of me really wanted to go back to Mexico, and the other part was like, well, if I'm to stay in Finland, I want to stay in Kuopio, and I want to study business in this really, really nice program that whoever went to make the presentation in 2015 to the high school, Liceo, then thanks to those people. And so, yeah, I received my admission letter. I confirmed my study place. And in the end of August 2015, I started my classes on campus. Now, the campus in Savonia has changed a ton. Like today, Savonia's campus, it's beautiful. It's extremely modern. It has been like in how you can like see it right now. I am actually on the campus. It has been completely renewed like two years ago. There was like a huge remodelation. They constructed entirely new buildings. It has been crazy. It's so beautiful, so modern. So it's such a nice environment to actually be a student. I was like, oh gosh, I wish I could be like a student again. What bachelors will I study next? Joke, or maybe not. But yeah, so it didn't matter that we didn't have this kind of like wow campus at the time in 2015. The whole experience was really beautiful. The first year, I think that when it comes to first impressions, my first impressions of the program was really about having so much free time. Okay, so we started with a 1 week of orientation. That was perfectly fine. You know, it's all the blah, 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 learning how to use all of the systems from the university, how to register for courses, getting your library card, getting your student card, kind of like figuring out where is everything. But once the orientation week was done, we actually started having our normal classes. And the first thing that I noticed was that we had so much freaking free time. And I was like, what is this? Because for me, coming from a Mexican background, for me, it was already really weird that in high school in Finland, classes started at 8 and finished at 4. And then on Fridays, they started at 8 and finished at 2. And so for me, that was already like a very relaxed rhythm compared to, how high school was in Mexico. And then I came to university just to figure out that I would have like days where my university would start at 10 a.m. and finish at 2 p.m. There would be times where I would just have like a 2-hour class. There would be days where I would have literally free, like Nada. No classes. And I was like, what? That's so weird. So like, that was my first impression. I had so much free time and I was like, wait, really? And so I had so much, I think that it really took me like quite a long time to understand why the programs were like that. So if you want to like literally, I think that this is more not necessarily this doesn't really have to do with my program. I think this is more like a Finnish education type of thing. And I made a whole video about that, about like how freedom, it's like kind of like expressed in the Finnish education system. So if you're interested in watching that video, I'm just going to link it here above again, a different video, but I'm going to link it here. But yeah, so that was like the biggest impression that I had. I was like, how is it possible that we have like so much free time? Also, what I noticed is that in the first year, like, especially in the first semester, all of the subjects, in my personal opinion, were extremely easy. So coming from a high school experience where I studied in a very demanding program as the International Baccalaureate was, that I was literally just praying to get the 24 marks to pass high school, because I was like, if I don't pass high school in Finland, if I don't graduate from high school in Finland, I will need to study another year. And that just like, I just could not imagine that. Like, I was studying so hard. I was like, just like, please let me graduate from high school. Actually, I did pretty well in my ultimate results that I got from the IB program. That's another story. But I was really coming from like a really demanding program, high pressure, where I was like not a brilliant student, like compared to my other classmates that would used to get like 6, 7. If you're not familiar with the IB program, those are like the highest grades. And for me, they were like really difficult to get. I was always like 3, 4, 5 type of student in a scale from like 0 to 7, where 0 is like you super failed and 1 and 2, you also are super failing. And moving into a bachelor degree where we really had like such an easy time, like the grading scale in Finland, it's from 0 to 5, where you pass with 1. And I was able to finish all my first semester with just 5s. So that can just like give you an idea of how easy I felt the first semester was. Now, the second semester was a little bit more demanding. The most demanding part for me was maths, because I'm not good at maths or physics or anything that has to do with numbers. I don't like them. I'm not good at it. But yeah, so the whole first year was a really kind of like easy vibe. And when I finished my first year at the university, I really had to ask my study counselor in this like feedback session that we had. And she explained actually that the first year, it's kind of like building your foundations on business. And that's why for a lot of people can really feel like this is so easy. Does this mean that every single student feel like this is so easy? No, I don't think that that's the case. But for some people, it might feel. But this is the biggest trick that you will find in my personal experience in Finnish universities, that you go through your first year and you're like, easy peasy. Like, you know, this is easy. And then you go into the second year thinking that, because the first year was easy, then, you know, I can do so many other things in my second year. And at least I started to have so many other activities, because I was like, okay, this is totally easy for me. Like, I got all of my subjects with 5s, aka perfect grades. And I only got 1 3, and that 3 was from the maths class, because as I said, I'm not good in maths. But all the other subjects were like perfect grade, perfect grade, perfect grade, perfect grade. And so what I did is that I went into my second year. At the time, I was, before I started my bachelor's, I started my summer job in a restaurant. And then I continued with a permanent contract with smaller hours during my first year at university. Now, because I saw how easy the first year was, I decided to just start taking even more shifts at the restaurant. And what happened is that no, the second year, actually, things went a little bit more difficult. So it was really not the best move to just do more work, but I did. Obviously, I didn't got like really bad grades. I think that the whole degree overall allowed me to have like pretty good grades. Almost all of my grades were like 4 and 5. This is not showing off. It's just like sharing my my experience studying a bachelor's. But I think that the most important message that I want to share here, it's really that it's not about your grades. Because what I noticed in the second year was like, I was studying for the exam. I was studying for the subject. And that's where you really, start getting into this more adult vibe and really start reflecting in, am I studying to get a grade and get the credits? Or is the things that I'm actually studying allowing me to become a better professional in the career that I want to pursue? So in the second year, for me, was just like work, being very, very much involved in projects, working and studying. And that's how the second year went. Now, the biggest difference between first and second year is that the first year was like so much fun. In my opinion, it was like super easy. There were a lot of teamworks, and it was actually really fun because at the time with the program that we had like, in the international business program, we had something called the Innovation Week, which was like an amazing week where we went actually on a 1-week exchange to one of Savonia's partner universities in Holland. And we developed a business idea with the business Canva model. And then this was like kind of like the startup idea, the very first part of like our business plan. And these ideas, this like very basic plan that we created during the Innovation Week was something that we got to develop in the second semester, where everything was applied. I think that even though I said that everything was like easy, it was really like hands-on. And that's been like one of the biggest things that I have enjoyed about the program is that it was like, you learn something, you apply. You learn something, you apply. You learn something, you apply. Sometimes I was like a little bit unsure, like, have I really learned the thing? And I'm supposed to already be applying it when I'm not sure if I had already really learned the thing. But anyways, the point is that we continue developing this idea that was developed during the Innovation Week in the first semester. We took it forward to the second semester, where everything, all the subjects that we had were applied to develop this project. We had something like project planning, I believe. Then we had like marketing, and one of the parts of the marketing class was actually to develop the marketing of our company. We had like accounting, and the accounting knowledge had to be, again, also, like you have to do the finances, the budget for your business idea. We had, it was something about design. I don't remember, visual communications, I believe. So what we learned in visual communications was again applied to, make this business idea grow. And then ultimately we presented this business idea in something that was called the Oivalla Fair, where we basically presented our business and we pitched about it. And we tried to get like investors to invest in our idea. All this was, of course, like in a fictional way where, we had like a fair. There were all of the students presenting from the Finnish program for the international programs. We had a lot of visitors. They were given like fake money and they were able to invest in different like types of businesses. So the first year was easy, revealing, but it was also like the fact that I felt that it was quote unquote, for the last time easy, it did not mean that it didn't give me like a lot, and that it didn't mean that I wasn't really able to do great things, because at the end of the day, the program was really applied, and I really like the fact that everything was used to make an idea grow, because at the end of my first year, I had learned how to make a business plan and how to, be learning all the other subjects from the degree and actually be all applying them to this idea that I had. So the difference was that in the second year, like a lot of people are able to go on exchange. So kind of like, this group vibe that it's maybe like traditional to other countries, at least in Mexico, like the group that is your group, it's always like your group. Not sure if that's the same case in university. I believe it is. But here, no, because like the thing is that your group setting kind of like breaks entirely, because like half of the group, or like at least in my, when I was a student, like half of my group went to exchange. We got a lot of exchange students that were taking classes from the second year and from the third year. And basically like the few friends that I made on my first year and that decided to stay in Finland, that was like my group of friends. Because all the others, like they were like, boom, gone. And then all of a sudden, boom, we got like a lot of new things. Now, for me, the coolest part was that I decided to be an international tutor. So I had a blast with exchange students. I met so many new people, and that was like really freaking great. So I think that the biggest difference, just summing everything up, it's that on the first year, you have this group setting and you have like, kind of like easy foundational subjects. And in the second year, the biggest trap is that you think that it's as easy as the first year, because no, that just prepares you with your foundations. And then we're going to talk real business in the second year. So it's like my biggest advice that I could give to anyone watching this video that is studying the same program is that if you felt that your first year was easy, do not take that for granted, because ultimately the curriculum develops courses develop over each other. So I was very naive to think that it would be the same. And so in the second year, I was just also enjoying my tutoring time. And then I moved into the third year. Now, for me, going back to like biggest impressions that I had was that a lot of the courses really didn't require mandatory, being present in class. And so I don't know if that's the same for all of the universities, but for me, that was like a game changer, because I am very picky with the way in which I like to learn. And as I mentioned at some point at the beginning of this program, I believe, and that's something that I learned in Finland, was that my learning experience cannot and will not be tied to the teacher that I have. Because teachers are teachers for a reason, in my opinion. They have the knowledge, they are professionals in their field, but each teacher will teach you in their own way. And, they will have a certain style. And it might be that the teacher knows everything and is really good at what they do, but simply his or her teaching style doesn't necessarily match the way that I learn best. So what I really liked about Savonia was that a lot of the subjects really didn't require you to go to the class. Like a lot of people just went to the first class, learned what you were supposed to do in the program, and then not go to the rest of the classes, just, handle the projects, go to the exam, make the presentations, and that's it. And that's something that I personally loved. I think I made maybe 5 or 6 courses in that way, where I was like, okay, what is the goal of this course? What is it that I'm supposed to learn? What are the books that I should focus on? And I would actually just absorb the knowledge in myself, because I would notice that either I had other projects going on at the same time, or I would notice that the teaching style of this specific teacher was not a teaching style that I personally enjoyed. And that doesn't mean that the teacher is bad. That doesn't mean that the teacher doesn't know. It means that I like to go on a different speed, or I like to learn in a different way, or I like to go deeper in certain subjects. And that was the greatest and most amazing part that I think that I really, really enjoyed from Savonia. It's that teachers here actually see you as a freaking human being. And they understand, they are interested to know about what is it that you're doing, what are all the activities that you are having, what are your ambitions, and they support you in that. So when I tell you that I was working in the restaurant and that I was tutoring and that I was skipping classes, quote unquote, that doesn't mean that I was just, watching my life go through. I was also a volunteer in so many events of the European Youth Parliament, which taught me a ton. I loved being part of the European Youth Parliament, because that taught me things that the degree would have never been able to taught me. So that was so cool, because my teachers knew that I was active in this organization. They knew what I was doing, and they supported me into being part of those projects. I was also volunteering in Dare to Learn, which is an event in Finland. I was volunteering in Arctic 15, which is another event in the capital of Finland of, business, startups, entrepreneurship. So I was always volunteering in these other type of events that really allow you to build hands-on experience. And so my teachers always supported me in that. They listened to what I was doing. They always said okay, well, you can do this and go there. It's okay if you don't attend to this lesson, but please, you have to do this report. You have to present this exam. And I think that's a way that not really many universities have. Now, let's clarify things. I am talking about the International Business Program. The nursing program, it's entirely different, because it's not the same thing to be dealing with businesses than be dealing with human beings where you have to treat them in a certain way. Like, it's not possible, let's say, to be like, well, I'm not going to go to my pharma classes and I will just, present the exam. Or is it that possible? I don't think so. But there are certain fields that where you might not find the same sort of like freedom. Like when I talk, especially with nursing students, we figure out that our student experiences were just like so different, because in business, it's really about getting the knowledge, but more like even more important, getting your hands, like your actually like hands down experience, like that you actually know how to do the stuff. You know how to do the things, because that's what you need to have. That's the competence that you need to have when building a career in business. You need to have the theory, sure, but the theory alone, without you actually getting the stuff done of actually, it's cool that you learn about theories about project management, but can you actually, run a project and actually make it happen and actually go through all of the processes and not just know it in theory? That's really important. The third and my fourth year of my university really were, well, as I said, I was more of a like practical type of person. I was volunteering a lot in a lot of things. I was doing my internships, and so I didn't manage to graduate on time. I took 6 months more. I was supposed, like in the planned schedule, I was supposed to start my studies in 2015 and finish them in December 2018, and I graduated in May 2019. So I took 5 extra months. And that was precisely coming from the place of me thinking in the first year that things were easy. And then me getting used to not going necessarily to all of my classes and looking for other ways in which I can, like, go through my degree. One of the things that stopped me was that I really didn't, when it came to doing my thesis, I chose a topic that was like really ambitious in a sense that it required me to have workshops with specific persons. So that really delayed my thesis process, because then it took like a very long time to arrange all of the workshops, because what I did for my thesis was the development of a strategy for a nonprofit organization. 3-year-long strategy. And for that, we had to have like different workshops where we could define like, what's the mission, what's the vision, what are the values, what are the goals, and how would we put that in a 3-year plan to reach those objectives. And that really required the board members of this nonprofit organization to be present in the meetings. And then it was like all of the process of me going through the interviews, going through the results of the workshops. So I think that and the fact that I was like all over the place in all different types of projects was what ultimately made me graduate like 5 months later. And I was like, no, this is so horrible, but actually it is not. And this is like another of the coolest things that I love about education in Finland. And again, I'm focusing on the business field. It's that in business in Savonia, you get to study your degree. Like the ideal time, it's 3.5 years. Now, can you make your degree in 2 years, 2.5 years, or 3 years? Absolutely, you can. Depends of how much of free time, how much of a crazy time you want to have. I have known people that finish the degree in actually like 2.5 years. So, wow. And I have known people that actually take like up to, like 5 years, even like 4.5, 5 years finishing the degree. So that's like a very big difference. You can go faster, you can go like slower. The ideal time is 3.5 years, but there is a difference between the duration of the program, which for international business in Savonia, it's 3.5 years, and your study right, because you have the right to study in 4.5 years. So actually, when I thought that my life was over and that I had fucked up my life and that I was a failure and all of the stories that start playing up in my brain when I realized that no way I was going to graduate by December 2018, I went to talk with my counselor and she told me like, have a chill. It's fine. The world is not over. You have another year. it's okay if you take like more time. It's actually part of your study, right? And I was like, oh, really? So I got this another year. I didn't require the full year. I required 5 months. So that's the story. And I think that's like super good because it really talks about how Finnish education and how I especially lived it in Savonia, how teachers are not there to just give you the freaking course, get your exam, get your projects, and you go. They're actually here to support you and your ambitions, because in my personal experience, like I had so many other projects that I really wanted to be part of because I had that free time. Then of course I mismanaged my time. So that's why I didn't graduate on time. But I really wanted to be part of all these projects. And then there were even more opportunities that came to my door. So for me, it was like so beautiful that to study in a system that actually allows people that wanna get out of the university with their degree like faster than ever, but you can also take your normal time or take a little bit longer time. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts that I see in, studying a bachelor's degree in Finland. So I think that that's like a little bit more or less what I lived. Like in my 4th year, really, like I had completed, because usually your 4th year or the last year of the degree, it's dedicated for students to do their thesis and for you to do your internships. And like literally in my 4th year, I was literally just completing some of the courses that I didn't finish. But most of my time, I think that I really rarely went to classes in my 3rd and 4th year. Except for financial management, that I had to go to classes because, as I said, I'm bad at numbers. So I really needed to be in classes to get that class through. But yeah, so I think that's the wrap up of my 4 years. And in my 4th year, in my 3rd year, I was like doing all of the things, all of the projects, all of my activities, my work, my studies. And in the 4th year, I was just dedicated to my thesis, to my internship, and that's all. During my studies, like the studies of the International Baccalaureate offers you to have it doesn't offer you, you have to, sorry, I said it wrong. You have to do a basic internship and a professional internship, and you have the option to make this additional internship that's like 5 credits. So basically in my first internship, I got it from me working as a waitress, because you can literally get it from any work experience that you want. The professional one, I did it in a startup called Sino, and I was able to travel to Shanghai and present one of the projects that the startup was working on. It was beautiful. And on my 3rd internship, because I was able to do a 3rd internship, that 3rd internship was the one that I did in the communications department in Savonia. That was like literally landed and opened me the doors to having my first job after graduation. So those were my 3 internships. You are forced to have like 2 at least. You can have like a 3rd as an option. More, as far as I know, it's not possible. So yes, coming up to the end of this video, what was it that I loved from the whole program? I love the teachers. I love that they care about what are your ambitions, what are your dreams, what is the path that you're following, and that they really support you in you actually like learning. There were teachers with whom I told that, hey, I really don't learn from your teaching style. Like, can I just like study on my own and maybe just ask, like, if I don't understand something, maybe I can come to the class and ask the things that I don't understand. And this teacher was like, yes, absolutely, you can do that. There were other teachers where I was like, hey, I know that you do this and that in this course, but I have this other project and I think that it really fulfills the competencies. Like, so can I like not do this project, but develop this other project instead for the course? And they supported that. So I think that's what really like allowed me to build confidence in the fact of knowing that your development and your growth and what you learn and do not learn depends on you. It's great that you study in a great university. I think Savonia, it's a great university. It's great if you happen to have teachers that fit your learning style. For me, that was not the case in many cases, but it doesn't matter because I recognize that the teachers are professionals in their area And I know that they are human beings, and I know that I can talk in a like one-to-one manner, and I know that they probably will want to support me and we could find like a solution. Of course, there were stricter teachers that were like, well, you know, like, too bad that you want to do this because this course is structured in this way and that's the way it has to do, and that's it. So, you know, it's not an option, girl. You just have to do it this way. And that's totally fine as well. So yeah, that's what I love the most, like the teachers, the free time, and the opportunities that the whole degree allowed me. Like literally going and making those internships was like life-changing, and also being able to participate in so many projects with actual companies during the degree, that was also really beneficial. I really liked it. And the flexibility. I think that it just really comes down to the flexibility. Things that I liked the least was, if I could say, like teamwork. I mean, I know how teamwork, it's like so good to have, so good to develop. But when you study 3.5 years and in every subject you have a teamwork, then you are like, I don't know. I love working in teams. I volunteered in so many projects. I am part of so many other projects. I know how to be a team player. But the fact that I had to depend all of the time on me working on different teams, like there could be semesters where you would have like 5 teamwork, so you would have 5 different teams and you had to take care. Like, for example, for me, once I started getting the better grades, I always wanted to get the good grades. So having to deal being with persons that did not have necessarily the biggest, like the same ambitions that I had in terms of what kind of grade you're gonna get, and deal with that for that many amount of years, I did not enjoy it. It was not my cup of tea, but I have come to realize that teamwork in all of the courses, it's kind of like a very basic thing, not just in a bachelor level. That's something that we still have extremely common on a master's level. So it's like teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. That's fine. I know how to work in a team. Is that my cup of tea? No. So approaching the end of this video, I really want to talk about like, what is it that Savonia ultimately gave me? The tools that Savonia gave me that support me in my career afterwards. And I think it's really the biggest thing that Savonia taught me was giving me the space to play and learn and test and experience what is it that I want to do and what's the area where I want to specialize. Now, the international business program, it's different nowadays in Savonia. Now they have 3 minors, which I did not have when I studied. But it gave me, I feel like at some point, one of my biggest pain points was that I had so many things to choose from. And we learned a little from every single subject. And I got so stressed because I'm like, hey, listen, you're giving me like small bites from all of the things, like a small bite human resources, a small bite marketing, a small bite accounting, a small bite finance, a small bite economics. And I feel like I'm going to graduate and I feel like I'm not like a specialist or I'm not an expert on anything specifically. I know like a little bit of everything. And I think that what I before used to see as something bad, it's actually really good because business, it's a very wide field. And so there is so many, I ultimately ended up specializing in marketing. But I wouldn't have known like what is my area of specialization if I wouldn't have been able to test all of the things. So I think that's one of the like most beautiful things that Savonia gave me. It gave me the space to play and test so many different areas of business so that I could actually realize what's my main area of interest and where it's the area and the field where I really want to dive very, very, very deep into. And actually, where is the direction in which I want to take my professional career. Tips that I would give to students, like business students or just bachelor students overall, it's actually not bachelor students overall. For people that are studying their bachelor's in Finland, I would recommend to not rush your internships. I know that the first year can be like easy peasy for some, and that you might want to super graduate on time. But the thing is that because I was in the same boat, I wanted to get done with my studies ASAP. I made my internship in the restaurant and I just wanted to get the credits. Like I just wanted to be done with the degree. And the thing is that if I compare the experience that I have interning in the restaurant and just getting like the credits out, and then in the second year where I immediately rushed to make my professional internship, I wasn't able to land a job in the startup where I did my internship, not because I was not a great professional, but because I lacked a lot of the skills that I would later on anyways develop. But I wanted to be like so done with my internships that I'm like, I'm gonna do these like, fast. Without realizing that internships are actually the biggest gift you can have when it comes to, you get the credits, you are moving your studies forward, and you potentially are making like a space for you to find a work afterwards. And I didn't saw it in that way. So when I compared my first 2 internships that I did really early in my career to the last internship that I had, in my last internship, I was already in my 4th year. And I was able to, my knowledge was so much bigger. I knew so much, so many other things. I had much more experience. So when I jumped into my last internship, I was like, okay, we're going to do this, and that. Like I was able to perform so much better. And I think that it was precisely the actions that I had in my internship that actually allowed me to finish up my internship, ask for a job, and get the job. Like I presented the strategy that this is what I would do. This is what I think needs to be done. There is not a person doing this. I could be the person doing that. And eventually they hired me for that. It was a position that did not exist at the university. It is a position that was created for me once I presented the strategy that I built during my internship. And I told, this is what we are going to do. So that was beautiful. I think a lot of students try to just rush everything at the beginning, and that's okay. I just think that you can get like more out of the degree if you actually like wait to make your professional internship at the end, or when you have like more knowledge, because you really grow as a human being and you really, you're a different person by the time that you are finishing your degree compared to when you just are getting started. And the second tip, it's like, use your time wisely. I mean, now that I have been almost 3 years in my working life, I realized that your study time, it's like so precious. And of course, we at the time, I'm still young, but in that time, you're even younger. You want to enjoy life. You want to do whatever the F you want with your time. And that's great. Party, that's great. Watch Netflix, that's great. Hang out with your friends. That's totally fine. But your study time, it's the most amazing, most precious time where in a lot of the times you probably are getting supported from your parents, or you still don't have this pressure of, financially sustaining yourself. So you can really make a better use of that time to actually grow your skills, to actually test all of the things that will allow you to discover in which direction do you want to take your life. Because now, for example, that I am already in a full-time work, and I am doing my master's on the side, and I am having like ambitions that I want to learn more in this and that field. It's hard to combine all of those because I don't have the chance to say like, okay, I'm not going to work. I'm just going to dedicate to my studies. I have to do both at a time. And I mean, is it possible? Of course it's possible. Is it easy? Of course it's not easy. Is it easier to focus on that when you actually just have to take care of studying? Absolutely, yes. So now that I have really spent a lot of time talking about my experience studying a bachelor degree in Finland, I would tell, for whom would I recommend this type of program? I would recommend this type of program, especially the business program, if you really want to learn all of the basics and actually like further your knowledge in international business. Like you learn everything that it's needed to create a business plan, to actually launch your own business. You also learn how to specialize in areas because, as I mentioned, you are just testing from so many different programs. So you might actually just find your precious. And it's like, for me, my precious was marketing. And I was like, I found my precious. And then I was like, I'm going to go all into marketing, social media, and so on and so forth. Some other people might be accounting, for some other people might be finance. So I would recommend this degree for the people that want to have their own business, or for the people that want to work in any type of companies. Because as I mentioned, any type of companies will always require a person that knows business. If you want to become a project manager, you can do that. If you want to, project management applies to so many other companies. But if you want to become an assistant, you can do that. If you want to become like a manager, you can do that. Like business knowledge, it's something that you apply in every single industry. There's going to be always an industry. Like if you're a startup, you will need to have your marketing. If you're a B2B business, you will need to have your marketing person. If you are the event of the summer, you will need to have your marketing person. And that's the same for accounting. Does all the companies from all the industries need an accountant? Does any company bigger company need someone that would specialize in human resources? Absolutely. And all these different things, you ultimately learn them in the business program. So for me, I knew that business was not my number one option because I wanted to study nutrition, but that was not an option because that nutrition is not offered in English in Finland. And I was not going to go to Mexico to study nutrition because of the reasons that I told at the beginning of this video. So for me, business was beautiful because it's like, I'm not yet sure in which industry do I want to work, but I do want to get the degree and I want to have like more skills and more competences so that I can actually, grow my career and actually play in different fields. And the business degree that I studied has precisely allowed me to do that. So all in all, I would recommend this degree for those people. And also if you really are like a self-learner, if you want to take the driver's seat of your life and take care of where is it that you want to take your life, because as I said, bachelor programs in Finland, at least in my program, you do get a lot of free time. And a lot of time it's independent studies. So if you are a person that really needs to have the 8 to 4 schedule, the teachers running behind you, that you need to read, the whole freaking book, and that you need to be like, doing, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, I wouldn't recommend this for you. Because you do get a lot of free time here. So you need to have really like your own drive, your own initiative. Because if you lack those, you will just have so much free time that either you will end up like doing nothing or spending it, I don't know, just watching Netflix or, just like hanging at home. And that's time that you can use so much better. Like now, can you use it watching Netflix? Obviously. But you have a lot of free time. And you might have teachers that don't match your own learning style. So you need to be that person who has its own drive, who has clear goals, who takes the driver's seat of where do you want to take your life, and who takes responsibility, like massive responsibility. You need to be the person who takes care of its own destiny, regardless of the courses, regardless of the institution, regardless of the teacher. And last time, I'm going to clarify that it's not because Savonia is not a very, very good school, because it's an amazing university. It has really great teachers. But the fact is that your learning style might not match sometimes the teaching style of certain teachers. And you need to be that person that it's going to be great regardless of that. And I think that doesn't apply just to this university. That's just like something that would apply to any person studying any degree. Because, honestly, what you can get from one individual, from one course, from one book, it's not the whole thing. And I think that it's so beautiful when you are actually able to feel in love with the process of learning, with the process of growing, and that an institution, a degree, a teacher, a book will never limit your lifelong learning. And so also, last but not least, Savonia taught me how to be in love with my own learning journey in the moment that, in the way that, and that's not just Savonia, but also like the education that I had in high school, that it really allowed me to understand that the only one responsible for my growth, my education, and what I accomplish in life, it's me. regardless of the degree, regardless of the institution, regardless of the teacher, regardless of the books. You want to do something, you want to learn something, you want to become someone, it's your own responsibility. Figure it out and make it happen. my inspirational moment. But I'm serious. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was extremely long, but I really wanted to share so many things about the whole experience of being in a bachelor's degree in Finland. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in my next video. See you again. Bye.